Welcome to Sureway English. Today we've got a very interesting tutorial for you, which is on PTE repeat sentence. We'll see everything that you need to learn to get a 79 plus score in this question type, to score 100% in this question type. But before I start, I would like to thank each and every one of you for showing so much love and support to us, for liking our videos, subscribing to our channels, and for signing up for the courses on SureWayEnglish.com website. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do that. And also check out SureWayEnglish.com website for a free PTE course and other PTE resources. Now, in today's webinar on PTE repeat sentence, what are we going to cover? First of all, we will see what's the right approach for a 100% score in this question type. That is, what are the things that you need to do to keep in mind to get all repeat sentence questions correct. That is, get a 100% score in that. We will have a look at some tips and tricks that you can use for long and difficult sentences. Often that's something which people struggle with, how to remember sentences, how to handle difficult sentences. So we'll look at some tips and tricks for that. Then I'll talk about some mistakes that you should avoid. So sometimes even when you are prepared, but you end up making some silly mistakes. So we will see what are those mistakes that you should avoid in repeat sentence. We'll go through all of this with the help of an example followed by a step-by-step explanation. So we will see how to put all of this into practice, and in the end I will give you some tough practice questions. So if you do those questions sincerely, you will find yourself in a very good situation. You will find that you have understood things properly and you will be ready to take on other PTE repeat sentence questions. So I request you to set aside the next about 20 minutes, right, for this particular tutorial. If you have any questions that come up to you, then feel free to ask those questions in the comments. We'll get back to you definitely. So for the next 20 minutes, just focus on this tutorial, and it will be the most useful 20 minutes that you spend on your PTE preparation today. Keep in mind that you can check the video description for more related study materials. So make sure to do that after you have finished watching this video. Now, I won't spend a lot of time on the basics because a lot of you already know what PTE repeat sentence is, but just for the sake of completeness, let's quickly go over that. So you hear a short sentence audio, a short audio sentence you will hear, and you have to repeat it as it is, and you have to repeat almost immediately. You will find 10 to 12 questions of this type in the exam. That I think is the challenging part, because one after another you face these dozen questions, so that can be a bit challenging. You will have 10 seconds for each to record your response. So those were the basics, and without wasting any more time, we will quickly get into the tips. First, we will go through these tips and some tricks which I want you to keep in mind when you are attempting these repeat sentences. The first one, this is that you have to sit straight and be enthusiastic. Now, if you slump, with your shoulders down and a bit tired, then that reflects in your voice. This is important for your entire speaking section. You should always sit straight, your backbone straight, and you should be enthusiastic. Give your full energy to each and every question. That is important because there are going to be 10 to 12 questions. If one question is difficult and you are not able to do it properly, you should not let that affect the other questions. So be enthusiastic, sit straight. Speak clearly and loudly. Don't mumble words. A lot of us, depending upon our cultures, where we come from, our native languages, our countries, we some of us are not really in the habit of speaking openly, clearly, and loudly. So what happens is we end up mumbling some words. Okay, so you're still pronouncing it, but you don't open your mouth properly, you don't speak fully. So if you do that, what will happen that the PTE software will not pick your response correctly. And if it does not pick your response correctly, then of course it will not evaluate it correctly and you will not get the full score. So speak clearly, speak loudly, don't be nervous, don't think that anyone is judging you, don't look around at the people sitting next to you. Just focus on yourself and your responses. Visualize when you listen. So when you are listening, the idea is, of course, that you will remember the sentence fully in the end so that you can respond. But sometimes the sentence is long or it has some words which you might find difficult to remember. And then what happens is, if you are visualizing, then as you hear a sentence you think of a picture. So when you associate that picture with what you have heard, that helps you to remember much better in the end. So visualize, almost try to see what the person is saying. That way you will not only depend upon the words, you will have much more in your mind to help you remember the sentence. If you are confused, pick words based on what you understood. Sometimes what will happen in the end, you are not able to remember 100% or you are a bit confused between the words. Then use your understanding. Don't make 100% random guess, but whatever you understood, then think the word which is which fits most in that scenario. For example, if it was a sentence which spoke about books, semesters and exams, then probably it has to something about the context is education or university. So if you get confused, if you can't remember, then pick some words which are based upon that context, which are from that context. So might be the university, might be related to education. That's what you should do. Finally, do not stop when speaking. So once you have started speaking, stop only once you have finished your response. Do not hesitate. If you are not sure of something, just guess, just make a guess and move on. But do not stop when you are speaking. These are the few things, I want you to put some focus on. So if you want, you can pause the video right now, take a screenshot of this, or just make a note of these points, and then go through these points later on. Right? When you practice, keep these points in mind, and gradually they will become a habit. And by the time you are in the exam, you will follow all of this as a habit and score very well. The next thing, the last thing that I want you to remember is you just have to be natural. Okay, sometimes what my students do when they are giving a response, they try to copy the speaker, they try to copy the accent of the speaker, they try to copy the tone exactly of the speaker. What will happen is that you're putting so much focus into copying the speaker that you don't really remember what to say correctly. In this question type, the words that you speak, they are important, they should come out clearly. Okay, the pronunciation should be more or less standard, and that's about it, what you need to get a good score. So don't put your energy, don't put your focus into copying the speaker. Rather, just try to be natural. Okay? So these are the tips which I have for you. Please keep this in mind. Next, there are a few mistakes which people make. I don't want you to make those mistakes. So I made a list of them. Let's go through those mistakes one by one. Do not make the mistake of writing down each and every word. Sometimes what people think, I can't remember. It's difficult for me to remember, so I will just write down and then, I will read it from what I've written. But if you try to write down each and every word, you will miss most of the sentence because it's very difficult to write at a pace at which you can remember. If you could write so fast, then your English language skills are already very good. And most likely, if you can write so fast, then you can also remember. Okay? So what this means is, if you can't remember, then the chances that you will write down each and every word correctly, they're very low. So don't do that. If you have to, maybe write down a difficult word, one word, or a part of that word, but nothing more than that. Another mistake which people do is, there's a lot of advice in different videos that write down the first letter of each word. When we look at an example, we will see why this is a wrong approach. If you don't understand the meaning of the sentence, if you have understood the meaning of the sentence, then yes, it's correct. You can write down the first letter of the word and you can sort of, guess or remember in the end what the sentence is. But if you don't understand the meaning, then writing down just the first letters of the words, it will only confuse you in the end. We will look into this when we do an example. The other mistake that you can make is stopping to think what to say. In describe image or in retell lecture, you can pause, for a moment. You can form your sentence because those tasks, they are different, right? You are speaking naturally, you are explaining something. But in this case, this is just repetition. So do not stop to think. If you are confused, just make your best guess, speak, and move on. Do not go back to correct yourself. So this ties in with what I just said. If you suddenly remember that, oh, I didn't say that word correctly, don't correct yourself. Keep moving. You don't have a lot of time and you have to finish the sentence and you have to do it without hesitations, without interruptions. And the other mistake that you can make is not speaking almost immediately. So as soon as you hear and as soon as the microphone opens up, you should speak. You should start speaking. Don't wait and don't pause. This can severely impact your score because the time that they give you is just 10 seconds. And if you are pausing for 2 seconds and speaking after 2 seconds, then that impacts your score. So be ready to speak almost immediately when the microphone opens up. That's why in the beginning I said that there are 10 to 12 questions of this type in the exam. I've seen a lot of students, what they do, the first 3 or 4 questions, they give their response properly. They focus, they put a lot of attention into it, right? They do it very well. And then they sort of get deflated or tired, on the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 10th sentence. Don't let that happen to you. Just go one question at a time. Your focus in the exam, in the beginning, it's not to complete the exam or get 79 plus score. Your focus is just one question at a time. Do that, complete it, then again sit straight with full enthusiasm, ready to listen and ready to speak almost immediately. Now, let's look at an example and put some of these things into practice. What we mean by that. Here's the sentence.
The next semester does not start until December.
The sentence was, the next semester does not start until December. Now, if you were just writing the first letter, right, of each word, you will end up with something like this. TNS, DNS, UD. So, if let's say that's all that you have done, you have taken this advice from some YouTube videos and you've just written the first letter of each word, then you will end up with 2N, 2S, 2D. It's very difficult. Now if I ask you, what does the the second S mean? What does the D in the end mean? It becomes difficult, right? That's why I say your focus, it should be on understanding what the sentence is. Writing down the letter or writing down some words, that is just an aid. That's just a little extra help that you can take, but that should not be your entire strategy. If you're thinking that you will be able to answer these questions by writing down the words or writing down the letters, then that's a big mistake. Now, I also told you that we should visualize. So when I heard this sentence, I started to visualize. So this is, when I think of semester, I think of a university campus. I think of students going to classes, coming back from classes. When I think of December, I think of days, calendars, month. So in the end, when I have to give my response, then I can refer to these pictures in my mind because I associated a picture with them. I remember these words much better. So based upon my understanding, based upon the pictures that are associated with the words, I remember very well that the sentence was, the next semester does not start until December. So that's how you do, when the sentence starts, focus, try to understand, try to see what comes in your mind, associate those pictures with the words, form certain associations. If you have to, write down, feel free to write down a couple of difficult words or the first few letters of those words, and then combine all those things and answer the questions. Okay, now it's time for some good practice. These are 10 difficult questions that I have for you. Make sure that you are able to do them properly. I'll give you 1 minute, though in the exam you will have much lesser time, but I'll give you 1 minute because you will probably have to record them in your mobile phone or somewhere, so all of that takes time, and then also there'll be a little bit of time to check that. So here we go with the first question.
The economy is showing some early signs of recovery.
The university aims to become a leader in the field of genetic research.
History has several important lessons for the keen mind.
The results of next elections will depend upon the political alliances.
Excessive social media has been shown to cause depression and anxiety.
Random events can have a profound impact on life.
Environmental degradation is the direct result of human excesses.
There will be significant competition for the financial grant.
University students should put effort into developing their academic writing skills.
Apple will unveil new phones at its annual event.
So with that, we come to the end of this practice session. I hope you did well. If you have done well on these difficult questions, then I'm sure you will also do well in the exam. Now please check the video description. You will find more helpful free study materials in the video description. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, encourage us, right? We love getting feedback from you, so please do that. All the best with your PTE preparation. I will see you soon with another PTE tutorial. All the best. Bye for now.